Hello, peeps. My name is Jessie Sheehan, and I am a cookbook author and a recipe developer, and I am partnering with Colavita olive oil to bring you an oil-based baking series that will be on IGTV and YouTube every Wednesday. You'll be able to find it on my IGTV and YouTube, and you'll be able to find it on Colavita's. And every Wednesday, I'm going to be making a different baking recipe calling for olive oil. Let me tell you why. You see, I love baking with oil, and there are many reasons, but here are a few of them. First of all, I love how easy peasy it is, and I am the queen of easy peasy sweets. When you bake with oil, a lot of the time, maybe not all of the time, but a lot of the time, you don't need to use a stand mixer. You don't need to use a hand mixer. You do everything in a bowl with a whisk and maybe a spatula. So I love that about oil-based baking. I also love that an oil-based baked good is super moist, is super tender, lasts for days. I'm not kidding. We really believe, me and Colavita, that an olive oil based baked good actually gets better with time. Like you make your muffins with some oil in them, and if you wait a day before you eat them, they're actually even more delicious. Today, I'm going to be making a carrot snacking cake with oil because I love snacking cakes and because I think it would be an excellent cake for mom. And maybe you're not like a super experienced baker. This cake is so easy, you can easily make it for your mom. And I am a mom, so I'm here to tell you that moms like carrot cakes. This one has a cream cheese frosting, a cinnamon cream cheese frosting, which is super yummy. And because the olive oil that I was able to find in the grocery store is extra virgin, that's the one I'm gonna use today. But you could also make this with a neutral olive oil. Colavita has an excellent olive oil for baking, which is super neutral. Okay, so carrot cake for mom. The other thing that is great for mom, I just have to put in a little plug here. My book, The Vintage Baker, is great for mom. And you can purchase this book wherever books are sold. Okay, let's get going. So first we're gonna take a medium-sized bowl and we're gonna put in our dry ingredients. We are going to add 1.5 cups of all-purpose flour. Oops, spilled a little bit. We are gonna add 1.5 teaspoons of baking powder. We are going to add 1/2 teaspoon of baking soda. We are going to add 3/4 of a teaspoon of cinnamon. I actually think that might be 1.5 teaspoons. But you'll be able to see the recipe because it's gonna live on my site, jessiesheehanbakes.com, and on the Colavita site. And then finally, we're gonna add 1/2 teaspoon of salt. I'm just gonna move my little bowls out of the way, and we're just gonna whisk this together. You only wanna whisk long enough so that you're sure that your leavening is properly incorporated, because if you don't whisk long enough, you'll have kind of tunnels and holes in your cake, and that's sort of where there are like big glops, whatever word you wanna use, of baking soda and baking powder. So you wanna make sure all of that gets well incorporated, and you also wanna make sure your cinnamon gets well incorporated. Also, if you're like anti-cinnamon, maybe you can leave it out. I like to put a little cinnamon in here because I think it goes well with the carrots, but it is not 100% necessary. Okay, now I'm going to put aside my dry ingredients and I'm gonna grab a larger bowl for my wet ingredients. Now before we begin combining them, I wanna show you one thing. These are the carrots that we're using in this recipe. These were grated, with my microplane. Now, I won't lie, grating carrots with a microplane takes a really long time. And this is 2 cups of carrots. It took me a while. But the thing is, the texture that you get in your carrot cake, if you grate your carrots with a microplane, is like off the charts delish, okay? Just adds the best texture. I love it. So that's what I do. If you don't wanna do that, if you wanna grate yours in a food processor or with a larger grater, totally fine. But that's how I grated mine. Okay, peeps. Wet ingredients. We have a slightly larger bowl. We are going to add 1 2/3 cup of granulated sugar. And we are going to add 3/4 of a cup of Colavita olive oil. So I'm gonna add that. And then I am going to add 2 teaspoons of vanilla. And I like to add my vanilla or any flavoring that I'm working with in a oops, I actually wanna whisk that. Any flavoring that I'm working with in a cake or a baked good, I like to add it when I add the fat, because fat carries flavor. And so if you put your vanilla in when you put in your butter, which we're not using, but your oil in this instance, it helps bring out that vanilla flavor even more. And we're gonna whisk this together kind of vigorously. Wanna take a look at this? Whisking together, and it smells absolutely delicious because this olive oil is so yummy. So I whisk that together. Shake off the oil. Now we are going to add 3 eggs, and I'm going to add them one at a time. First egg. There we go. Just until it's combined. And peeps, I hope you're seeing how quickly this is coming together. I mean, this is so easily a recipe that you could make for your mom or for you if you were just wanting to celebrate yourself, which is also always worth celebrating. So that's 2 eggs, and now I'm going to do the 3rd one. Boop. And I'm going to stir that around. Now we are good to go. You can see, I'll probably give it like another couple of whisks just to make sure it's all emulsified. It smells amazing. I'm going to put my whisk off to the side, and I'm going to add my dry ingredients to my wet ingredients. So I just add like this. Boop. Put that off to the side. And here we go. And we're gonna fold, peeps, and we're gonna do it gently because we do not want to overwork our gluten, because if you overwork the gluten that is in the flour, your cake will be tough. And I want our cake to be tender, which I already know it will be because it's calling for olive oil rather than for butter. And cakes with oil, as I said, are always super tender. So I do this, peeps, only until there is a streak or 2 of flour left. And the reason I like to do that is to stop when I still see flour, is because that ensures that I haven't overmixed, okay? Now I'm going to add my 2 cups of finely grated carrots that I told you about before. And I'm also gonna add 3/4 of a cup of sweetened shredded coconut, because I love the combo of coconut and carrots in a carrot cake. People also add walnuts, people add raisins. I'm just gonna tell you, I'm not a raisin and carrot cake kind of gal. So I'm actually not a raisin in any kind of baking, sorry. But if you like raisins, by all means use them. And if you like walnuts, by all means use them. I throw in a handful or so of each if you wanna do that. There we go. And now we're gonna fold this together. And I think it looks really pretty, very springy. And Mother's Day is all about spring. And now, just wanna make sure everything's combined. Boop, oops, a little bit of a splash. That happens when you bake. And there you go, that's our batter. So now, just gonna move these over. I am going to, I have an 8x8 by 2-inch baking pan. I've greased it. I like to use cooking spray. If you don't like cooking spray, you don't have to use it. You could use a little bit of olive oil to coat the bottom of your pan, maybe with like a paper towel, or you could use a little bit of softened butter, but I used cooking spray. So now I'm gonna transfer this into my pan. And transfer every little drop. Don't want any wasted. Boop, boop. And look at that. I had a little spatula to kind of, you know, smooth the top, but I have to say it's pretty smooth on its own. So peeps, I'm going to place this into a 350-degree oven for about 40 minutes. I'm gonna check it at about 20 minutes. I mean, not check it, I'm gonna rotate it in about 20 minutes just because sometimes ovens have like a hot spot or a cold spot, so it's good to rotate halfway through the baking. And then I'm gonna pull it when I stick a toothpick in and I see a moist crumb, okay? So I'll see you soon. Our cake is out of the oven. It's gorgeous. We've let it cool. Just gonna run a paring knife around the edges because I like to pop the cake out so that I can frost it on a platter. And then I'm gonna put a rack like this. And we'll peel off our paper. And then we do this little trick. And there's our cake, our platter. Okay, now we're going to make our frosting. So in my stand mixer, I have 1 stick of butter and I have 1 block of cream cheese, which is 8 ounces. And you can kind of come in here and take a peek. I have kind of mixed that up together. They were all room temperature when I started, so they came together really quickly in my mixer. And I just mixed them up a little bit prior to starting this because it's kind of loud, so I didn't want it to be too loud for you. Now, I'm going to grab a tablespoon of vanilla, and like I said before, I like to add my fat when I add my flavor because fat carries flavor. So here we go. Just mixing that up. It's a little loud, not too bad. I kind of have it on medium-low, as they say. Now I'm gonna do another quick scrape. Scrape, 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 scrape. All scraped up. Now, I have, let me move my mixer a little bit. I have 3½ cups of confectioner's sugar. I have 1/2 teaspoon of cinnamon. Boop, and I have 1/4 teaspoon of salt. I like to put salt in my frosting because it helps cut the sweetness. I'm just gonna whisk that together. Here we go. And then I'm gonna add my sugar to my frosting. Let me just close this up. I'll bring it back over here. And I'm gonna add a little bit at a time. And I'm gonna do it kind of slowly because I don't want the sugar to splatter all over my kitchen. And you can kind of wait in between each time. I'm gonna turn up a little bit to incorporate everything. Takes a little bit of time. It's a little bit loud. Sorry, peeps. And if you don't have a stand mixer, you can totally do this with a hand mixer. You can kind of see it's come together. So I'm gonna turn it down again. Oops. And I'm gonna add more sugar. And I like to put cinnamon in my frosting because I think that's just, it kind of picks up the flavor of the cake, which has some cinnamon in it. So that's why I like to do that. But if you don't like cinnamon, you don't have to. And I'm gonna put in my last bit of sugar. Here we go. It's a little messy over here in my kitchen, but that's okay. I'll turn it up one more time. Give my bowl a quick scrape, because I can see there's some sugar on the side. You can see the frosting has like a little bit of a brownish tint, and that's from the cinnamon. Oops. Here we go. I'm gonna turn it up a bit, just to get it all nice and smooth and incorporated. Looks really yummy and nice if you want to see. And I think we're good. And now I take it off of the mixer. And I like the way this looks. It's, as I said, it's kind of tinted slightly like it's sort of tan colored from the cinnamon. If you wanted just like a pure white cream cheese frosting, you could skip the cinnamon. Okay, peeps, look at that. Pretty delish. Now I just plop this onto my cake. Boop. Here's the frosting plop. Here's the frosting plop. There we go. Boop, boop, boop. Let me just move this out of the way so you can see what I'm doing. Like I said, I like to have a clean workspace. Here we go. And now I'm just going to spread the frosting. Now, I won't lie, peeps. I am kind of a frosting addict. So I like to have a very generous topping of frosting. Also, you'll probably see I didn't beat the frosting too long because I don't want it to lose structure. And that can sometimes happen with a cream cheese frosting. And you see this also, peeps, I like to let the little edges of the cake poke through. I just think that looks pretty. Now, the moment of truth, we're going to cut a slice. So I'm gonna cut here, and here. Let's see how pretty it looks. Look at that beautiful crumb, peeps. And I forgot to mention the coconut that's in here is gonna make this super moist. Let me take a bite. Peeps. This is a wonderfully moist carrot coconut cake with a cinnamon cream cheese frosting. I made it with Colavita olive oil, which I love. This is an oil-based cake, so easy to throw together as you saw. I hope you will try this cake at home. You can find the recipe on Colavita or on my site, Jessie Sheehan Bakes. You can also find me on Instagram at Jessie Sheehan Bakes and on Facebook there. And I hope you'll join me next week when I make another oil-based baked treat with Colavita. Thanks.